we win or fall, that we will keep the faith for which they died. Zero hour, 8th of August. 400 tanks along the Amiens front. Is there a man alive of us who forgets? What a day. 400 tanks in line of battle. Good going, firm ground. The air grows electric. 2 minutes to go. Watch his tick, heart's beat. 1 minute to go. Then the whole world upheaves. No words can describe it. Just the whole world heaves, rocks, tumbles, turns upside down, ricochets. We can see, hear, and feel nothing. The driver's on his seat, his hand on the clutch. Soon she's humming, sweet and low. I depress the pedal and she roars magnificently, like the great man-eater she is. She gives a lurch and a roll. The gunners spread their feet for balance, and we're off.
The going was marvellous. Grass was just like you put in your front garden, just like a bit of Cumberland turf. It was springy. You felt you were in for a joyride.
The whole plateau, seen from the air, was dotted with parties of infantry, field artillery and tanks, moving forward. Staff officers were galloping about, many of them riding horses in battle for the first time. No enemy guns appeared to be firing, and no coordinated defense was apparent.
Only the Royal Air Force lacked the sense of overwhelming victory that day. During the hours that elapsed between the opening of the battle and the lifting of the morning mist, the Germans had time to summon air reinforcements to the Somme. As the British planes took off to fulfill their bombing missions against bridges, communications, and troop concentrations, German squadrons assembled against them. The Richthofen squadron appeared. Baron Manfred von Richthofen, the most famous air ace of the war, was dead now, but his squadron, led by Captain Hermann Göring, was still a crack unit, a fearsome opponent to meet. The Royal Air Force lost 44 machines in battle, and 52 more were wrecked. On the ground, the battle flowed forward towards its unmistakable meaning.
The tanks were going forward and taking position after position, the infantry following up behind, and even all the Germans brought their artillery out of their pits. It was of no avail that the Australians got all around them. While this was taking place, the horse artillery galloped into action. And in the meantime, German prisoners were coming up, but it was a morning of victory. You could feel the hair prickling up your spine with excitement because we knew that that was going to be the end of the war.
By 1:30, the Australians were on all their objectives. They had captured over 7,800 prisoners and 173 guns. The Canadians made the deepest advance, nearly 8 miles, and took nearly 5,000 prisoners. Altogether, the British and French armies captured some 15,000 Germans that day. Was this the reward, at last, of patient years of endeavor? Was this what Vimy might have been, what Messines should have been, what Cambrai could have been? Field Marshal Haig wrote,
"The situation has developed more favorably for us than I, optimist though I am, had dared to hope."
Ludendorff wrote,
August the 8th was the black day of the German army in the history of this war. This was the worst experience that I had to go through.
the Battle of Amiens was a new beginning, the glint of a new hope. The advance slowed, but the feel of a great occasion did not diminish. German resistance stiffened as usual, and each mile gained brought the British nearer to the old, devastated Somme battlefields of 1916, a dreadful wilderness to fight in. But Amiens, on August the 8th, struck such a blow at German morale as it had never sustained before. As the German support divisions moved up, they met men who shouted to them,
You want to prolong the war? If the enemy were only over the Rhine, the war would be over. We thought we'd set the thing going. Now you fools are corking up the hole again.
Ludendorff was appalled at the reports which reached him.
Everything I had feared had here, in one place, become a reality. Our war machine was no longer efficient. The 8th of August put the decline of our fighting power beyond all doubt. The war must be ended.
More slowly now, but steadily, the Allies pressed forward. On August the 11th, there was a meeting of the German Supreme Command. Ludendorff offered his resignation, but it was not accepted. The truth, however, could not be disguised. The Kaiser told his generals,
I see that we must strike a balance. We have nearly reached the limit of our powers of endurance. The war must be ended.
the war must be ended. At last, the realization came home. At last, the leaders of the German army, the mightiest instrument of power that the world had seen, knew that they could not win. The London Times wrote,
The new Franco-British offensive, initiated under the command of Sir Douglas Haig, is one of the most gratifying surprises of the war. It surprised the British public just as much as the enemy, for never has a secret been better kept.
Daunted by the collapse of so many false hopes in years past, the British public only hesitatingly comprehended what its army had achieved. In Germany, and among her weakened and wearied allies, realization came more swiftly. A Vienna paper wrote,
The German retreat on the Marne concerns us just as much as if our own troops had been fighting there. And the beating hearts with which we follow the news of the battle at Amiens are inspired by our comprehension of the extent to which our destiny is interwoven with these events.
Austria needed peace, Bulgaria needed peace, Turkey needed peace. Now Germany was learning that she too needed peace. But what sort of peace? The voice of the Junker insisted,
I should like to say to our people, do not lose your nerves. Do not become sentimental. Show a hard face to your enemies and say plainly to them that you need this and need that, and therefore will keep that much of what you have taken from them, because you are the conquerors.
Germany began to learn that there could be no negotiating of peace, no compromise accommodation. The righteous wrath of the American people, embodied in President Wilson, the determination of Britain, passionately asserted by Lloyd George, would not contemplate such a thing. And Clemenceau had spoken